right, welcome to another Director's Commentary. Today we are going to be doing the Nitro Challenge. And I don't know why I'm so quiet. Checking, 1, 2, 3. I'm having some computer issues today. Love it when this happens. Check, 1, 2, 3. Oh well, we'll have to deal with it. I'll just have to talk a bit louder. Not sure what I did today. Anyways, oops. Then I go super loud. That's crazy. Let's try this. Just hold on a sec, people. I'm a broadcasting newbie. What can I say? Every time I do this, it's different. That's what frustrates me. Oh, here we go. All right, check it. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about the Nitro Challenge that I filmed in 2019. I affectionately called it DNC 2. And a little bit of a teaser there behind you. Going to drive some of my fans a little crazy because that's the icebreaker cut. We'll just leave it right there just to torture y'all. All right, so DNC 2, what can I say about DNC 2 before we get into it? It was really cold. It was so cold. I can't believe how cold that race was. I think I was filming and it was like 4 Celsius, so just like, I don't know, 30, 38 Fahrenheit during the mains. So it was pretty crazy. And it was the first year in Paris, California after being in, I don't know, it was in Phoenix for many years. We'll get into the history of that in this video. So it was the first year of moving to California, and I don't do sequels. Like people have often said, well, why don't you go do a Reedy race again, or why don't you go do some other race? Well, I don't do it until it's a venue change, because then it's actually a new event. It's kind of like, then I can do what I call a sequel. So that's what this one was about, and that's what Silver State 2 was about, because Silver State 1 was the RC Tracks Las Vegas. It moved indoors, so I figured, hey, let's do a sequel. That was the first one that I did. This was the second sequel I did. So, yeah, I guess we'll get right into it. And go from there, I guess. Let me just switch to my laptop.
IFMAR World's title, the Nitro Challenge has been the
Starting
for
over.
the past 19 years. Other than an IFMAR World's title, the Nitro Challenge has been the one race that every racer wants to win.
So it's kind of a cool intro. I took basically a whole bunch of footage of various Nitro Challenge videos that I could find, and I just kind of put it into these little viewfinders. That shot there's from one of my favorites, Tales of the Dirt, done by Marcus Gelhardt, I think, from ZebraWorks out of Germany. He basically kind of he really set the stage for how RC videos should be made, and I just kind of used him as sort of not a mentor, but like something to do better than. I know my stuff's a lot different than his. Tales of the Dirt was pretty short. I don't do short. This one's like an hour and a bit. So anyways, so DNC started in Hemet, California, ran there for quite a few years, and then it moved over to Phoenix. This here is the Nitro Pit. I never got the pleasure of racing at the Nitro Pit, but I'm told it was like the most amazing of amazing. So yeah, so they raced at the Nitro Pit, I think, for 4 or 5 Nitro Challenges were held there. So yeah, that was the famous F16 pass that Mayfield pulled on Tebow to win truck that year. I can't remember how many years it was. Like I said, I think it was 5 years at the Nitro Pit, and then it relocated to the Fear Farm. This is kind of a cool shot. This was I was actually doing some B-roll before the race and hooked up with Adam and White Lightning on the way there. So that was actually filmed on Interstate 10 on the way to the race. So that was kind of a fun shot.
The Fear Farm would be the host for the DNC the next 7 years.
So there we go. Fear Farm would host for 7 years. So I believe Nitro Pit was 5, and then Hemet was a couple before that. And for me, really Nitro Challenge was the Fear Farm, and Fear Farm was the Nitro Challenge. My first year was 2013. That was the year it snowed and hailed and did all sorts of crazy stuff. That was my very first Nitro Challenge.
At Fear Farm's peak, entries topped 1,000.
And that year there was in fact about 1,000 entries.
Was the weather. Year after year, the perfect storm seemed to roll in.
And it was kind of the gag for Nitro Challenge. So that was a shot from 2013 taken from my parents' trailer of the hail hitting the ground. It was just insane. And as you can see, it looked like snow on the track. And this is Phoenix, Arizona, where it's not supposed to do this.
Ty Tessman winning his first.
I can't remember who won that year. I think Cavalieri won 2013, and this is 2014, where Ty doubled. He won both the Nitro classes and would go on to win the Worlds that year.
Go on to become the world champion.
But, you know, after 2014, after the Worlds win, Ty really struggled at this facility, and it really became Mayfield's race to lose year after year. You know, he dominated. Like his first year with Mugen, he got the trifecta, the E-buggy, Nitro Truggy win. So yeah, he basically owns this race and continues to this very day. He's defying age. This shot here was actually kind of cool. It was taken after the Worlds in 2016. My middle child's best friend lives in Phoenix, so we decided to go visit him. And on the way there, I took a few shots of Fear Farm because I wasn't sure if there would ever be another race held there. So I figured, hey, I might as well get some B-roll of it. They did do one more year. 2017 was the last year, and then it moved.
The amount of money it would take to get them back up to code, the facility wasn't willing to do it. And so I just felt like it was time to make a change. And Southern California is a good fit, and the fairgrounds is good. It's just a bigger facility. You can handle more people. It's asphalt. Sometimes it's good to change things up, you know, keep it fresh.
For the 20th running, DNC would relocate back to its California roots. But SoCal isn't exactly known for balmy weather in February.
Yeah, so if you have weather like this leading up to the build, and this is news footage taken literally weeks before Joey had to build that track. When that's your base, when you're building in mud, you just can't do it. If the track is built and this happens, you can pump it off and kind of salvage things. But when that's your base and you show up to the facility to this, a big mud puddle, I mean, you're almost screwed. So Joey was actually really, really close to canceling this event. He was talking to a lot of his close friends in the industry, like Adam. And Adam was saying, well, man, it's a tough call. But at the end of the day, Joey managed to pull it off, obviously, because this video exists.
The rain, for sure. I mean, we need to get out of the drought, but we just don't need it all at once.
Daniel Adams sets up and prepares for what will be a week that will undoubtedly offer new and unexpected challenges. It's still 2 days before DNC officially kicks off, and yet another challenge has presented itself. Trying to find a dry track to practice on.
So Enterprise Rental Car, in their infinite wisdom, has this package called the American Muscle Package. They give you a rental car with 375 horsepower. Boy, did I have fun with that car.
At the most unlikely of places.
Anyway, so prior to DNC, one of the challenges that we did have was finding a dry place to practice. So Palm Desert isn't like the go-to track, but before the 2019 DNC, that's where everybody was. Like we saw Jared there. This was his debut with Techno. So he was, the first time I saw him driving Techno was actually at Palm Desert. So there's a whole bunch of guys just practicing there because it was the only dry track. There was basically two tracks that were dry. This one and then Revelation Raceway. They had a pretty cool layout on this Palm Desert track. It's pretty small, so I'm not sure if it was really good practice per se, because it really was a lot lower speed than what the Paris Nitro Challenge track would be. But it was bumpy, so it gave drivers the opportunity to kind of set up for rough track conditions, I suppose.
Before long, the rain converges on Palm Desert also.
Yeah, and it would eventually rain there, and then I got to there were big smoky burnout. I think at the end of the day, I did like 17 burnouts with that car. My first one was for Mayfield in the pits, because he thought it was my personal vehicle that I drove all the way from Canada. And when I told him it's a rental car, he said, bullshit. He said, prove it. Do a burnout. So I did.
Is actually the incumbent buggy champ.
Yeah, so this is now Revelation. I think this was the next day after Pond Desert, and we got a few hours of practice, and then it started to rain a little bit, but it wasn't like a rain that stuck. And Revelation's quite sandy, so it actually dried out pretty quick. We saw a lot more of the international guys at Rev for some reason. Like Rona Falk was there. I think Boots was there.
Still building the track.
If the track's already built and then it rains on it, at least you can pump the track off and, you know, kind of help shape it. But before you start at all, and all the dirt that you're going to use is soaking wet mud, and then the area that you're supposed to put the track in is soaking wet mud, then you don't really have any material to build a proper track. And so that part was stressful. It was the first time in 20 years that I thought I might have to cancel, because it's a big responsibility to make sure these people that are traveling from all over the world can come to something that's worth coming to. And, you know, they put that pressure on, not pressure, but responsibility on me, you know, so we almost...
Yeah, I really can't imagine the pressure that Joey was under. Like, I mean, it's the Anaheim 1 of RC. Like, this is one of the most important races in RC, and he was almost unable to build the track.
But all the required infrastructure.
Yeah, so remember, he's not just building a track, he's building pit lane. He's making sure people have a place to pit. You know, he's building a driver's stand. I mean, he was redoing everything. Whereas at Fear Farm, pit lane was there, the driver's stand was there, everything was already there. This one was, man, like, talk about pressure. Anyways, this is a pretty cool intro sequence.
Let's do this.
Yeah, it still is one of my favorite intros. I just love the songs. So here comes some more speeding with my Hemi rental car.
50 makes it to the track in record time. For reasons unknown, the front tires have now been swapped to the rear of Drach's rental car.
I didn't actually do that. I was contemplating when I was washing the car after the race was over. I was looking at those rear tires. I'm like, oh boy, they are fried. I was contemplating moving the backs to the fronts to the back, but never did. And the rental car company never clued in that I completely bagged on that car. And I never saw an invoice for the pretty much half-gone rear tires. So Renault, he had a similar car, also from, it was either Enterprise or Budget, but his was the Challenger, the four-door, or sorry, Charger four-door. But his had 100 miles on it, so it wasn't broken in yet. So it didn't go into sport mode, and he couldn't do a single burnout. So I could.
You can feel it though. You can feel that the guys they want to beat you. You're like, before you win the world, you're like one of the guys that everyone wants to beat. When you're a world champ, everyone wants to beat you. So that's the difference, I think. There's so much competition here.
Yeah. So this was really like the title says, this was an IFMAR Worlds Light Edition, because Davide was there fresh off his win in Australia. We had ex-champions in Tessman, ex-champion in Rona Falk. It was pretty ex-champion in Robert Battier. It was a really star-studded event.
Is a rift between the Europeans and American racers forming?
I think there's one developing.
So the rift that was forming was because of the whole Gyrogate. The European guys were really, I think they were frustrated with the American guys. That was Davide's dad announcing to the world that he passed tech at Australia and wasn't using a gyro?
They can check all they want, can't they? They checked it out of the world, so. And didn't find anything, so I don't believe it now. I don't think a gyro would help you here.
We go to races together and everybody's friends, and now it's like they don't want to look at us, talk to us. I don't know. It's weird. So, but it's all good. You know, we're just go out on the track and race it out and see who comes out on top. And you know, it is what it is. I mean, I guess rivalry isn't a bad thing, but at the end of the day, we all need to work together to race and put on a good show. So
I think we're all trying to beat each other. So I mean, some people run each other over easier than others, but overall, I think we're all just trying to get around the track. You're going to see a lot of chaos.
Or is it
We
just
will indeed.
friendly competition?
maybe, yeah.
So that's Chris Circus from Circus RC
That
News.
being said, even in
And he kind of thought it was just friendly competition, but I don't know. Even in the games of cornhole, they divided Americans versus Europeans. So I think there's definitely some rivalry there. Not all of it is healthy. Most of it I think could be healthy, but I don't know. Some of it on the track doesn't really seem all that productive. But we'll see more of that later.
this race is always the first.
So DNC is always like the first race of the season, first big race. So we got to see Lutz for the first time running a Gamma that year. I can't remember if he stuck with the Gamma for this year and the next, or if it was just a 1 year thing. And then we also saw Cav running S-Works for the first time. I think that was really tough for him because this is his whole pit. That's everybody on the team right there. I think it was him and a bike by the look of it, and maybe one other guy. So he went from a fairly large team with AE to a pretty freaking small team with S-Works. The S-Works buggy's on point. I think it's pretty good, but it always helps having a big team. The other big news was Ryan switching motors.
Running better equipment, getting better results for Mugen, so we'll take it. The first Dirt Nitro Challenge, he won all 3 classes. The following year, he was on the podium. I don't think he won any classes though, but then to come back and win 2 out of 3, be on the podium in the 3rd class, was pretty awesome. And you know, he's won AMS, he's won quite a few races for it, so it's been good.
With so many decorated drivers here, this Nitro Challenge is starting to feel more like a world championship than just another DNC.
It's more important.
So this is an interview from the 2014 with Eddie Larrett.
Week out and we get to have fun with
It's actually a pretty good interview.
Any way you look at it, we're racing toy cars. You know, we all got jobs, we all got families and kids at home. This is our vacation to have fun.
Well, it's toy cars for most of us. For the paid drivers, it's a little bit more than toy cars. So let's see. This is now practice. The track is sort of moist, like fairly moist, and it was starting to blow out or get character, as some of the drivers like to say. I think Joe did pretty good in seeding in Truggy.
Be a breakout DNC for Joe.
If I recall, he was either top seed or second seed.
Third highest contingency check in the industry, DNC epitomizes pressure. For the privateer drivers, this is a bucket list race.
So there's one of the few privateer racers. He just needs to call Mugen or Techno and bam, sponsorship. Sorry. Sponsorship's out of control, guys. Fix it.
DNC, we gotta come out and have fun. It's different feel this year.
Joe, that red and yellow Truggy looks cool. You're right, it does, buddy. How you been, man? Long time no see.
It's like the biggest race in the whole country, if not like the world. There's people all over that come here to race, so.
By the time the buggies roll out, the track was starting to get rough.
So later on, I think Ryan Mayfield and that privateer kid had a conversation because the track was super muddy. And Ryan's like, do you pay for your stuff? And the kid says, yeah. And Ryan's like, don't go out on the track. It's not worth it. I just thought that was pretty funny. I think I got that on film later. It was after it was for qualifying, Truggy qualifying when Truggy qualifying starts after seeding. Oh, and the one thing you don't want to do is break in seeding practice at a big race like this. Somebody forgot to give Tessman that memo. Yeah, he broke an arm. I think that was the first seeding round. They were really hoping for a second seeding round because they didn't want to be stuck in a slower heat. That's ultimately what would happen to them.
It could very well set the tone for his entire Nitro challenge.
Yeah, it really did.
The final seeding round starts just as the sun begins to set. Tessman, badly needing a second round of buggy, may not get his wish. Truggies are up first.
Yeah, so it was starting to get really cold. Like it was, I don't think it was 40 Fahrenheit. I really don't.
In fact,
the one really cool thing was it was neat seeing Davide and some of the other Euro guys running Truggy. They picked it up pretty quick. Like Robert Battier had some troubles, but Davide, he was pretty fast with it right out of the gate. It was pretty awesome.
Learning tires and how to drive it and so on. So we normally don't drive this, so I just drive once per year here. So
yeah, this is the only time Robert runs Truggy.
Kyosho has Elliott running a slightly less than current Truggy.
Yeah, for a 12-year-old truck, pretty good. I'll tell you that.
So that truck's so old, it still has E-clips. It doesn't have, and not like the crazy E-clip from Washington State or whatever, but like the E-clips that hold the shafts in place. It's all over the place.
Sledgehammer, like old school hammer and chisel.
Did you put different E-clips on it or something?
Yeah, lighter ones. Yeah, that makes a big difference. How embarrassing is it for the other guys though? I mean, it wasn't just the 3 laps that I was happy with. We could do like the whole run.
Yeah, so Joe's saying it didn't get cold till Q3. This is still seating practice, and basically every night it just got freaking cold. And I'm Canadian, so for me to say it's cold, that's saying so. I had like 4 layers. I don't know. I think, what was it? Tony Schumacher got me a Star Wars beanie. So I was really cold that race.
Qualifying starts, especially for buggy, because we're going to have a whole day of truck and e-buggy qualifying before we even get back on the track with Nitro. So, for now, it's like you're just trying to get a decent seed time and try some different tires and compounds, but it's really going to come down to the weather and what the track does if and when we get some weather.
With round 2,
so that was, so I think they got round 2 Truggy seeding practice in. This is now the second round of seeding for buggy, and it just started to pour. Like it just converged on us, and it was just pouring like crazy. So that really hurt anybody who broke in seeding round 1, like the Tessmans. I think there's 1 or 2 other top-ish drivers that had the same issue, but yeah, you want to finish your seeding rounds. You have to. So the question was, would this completely ruin the race, or would they salvage it? But it's the Nitro challenge, so Joey's always up to a nice little challenge, and he had one, pumping the track off.
To say it was a mess would be
it was just pure mud. It was so gross. So I think we ended up getting started around noon or 1, and in the meantime he was throwing down sawdust. First they pumped the track off, and then they layered it with sawdust, and then I think they had some people just with basher type vehicles out there just to kind of help dry it off a bit.
Joey and his crew worked through most of the morning trying to rid the track of the standing puddles. It was going to be a very long day of qualifying.
Anyways, that's a cool drone shot. The drone I used at this one was the Mavic 2 Pro. It was the second event I did with it. Really, really happy with the Mavic stuff.
With the elements, but Joey will get out there and he'll get the track back in shape.
It's gonna rain again by noontime.
Ronnie the Optimist. So that's one of the new features that I have at my disposal with the Mavic 2 is hyperlapses. I think that was a 25-minute circle around the track and compressed into that 3-second shot. So it's kind of cool. I like doing those. They're neat.
Throw some hay bales or sawdust down and go racing. At the end of the day, it'll cream will rise to the top.
And there's the crew. That's Aaron Webb,
The dirt crew is
Joey's right-hand man.
after a morning of
Oops,
hard
sorry, I
work,
keep hitting the volume
did
accidentally.
everything possible to get the track in near runnable condition.
Yeah, they were a little muddy for sure. Those two were working hard. So here's the sawdust I was mentioning. So basically, anybody who wasn't running on, this was the Thursday. So anybody who wasn't running on Thursday could help dry out the track. So we saw a couple E-buggies out there, and then Daniel Adams was out there with one of the Proline vehicles. And that was heat 1 of Truggy.
It is pretty chilly out there right now. For Southern California standards, it's cold out here.
And it was windy too. It wasn't just cold. It was just gross. Yeah, exactly, Robert.
Too cold here.
The first heats would hit the track just after noon. It would be best for these racers to just buy and build new kits before the second round.
Right? Well, here's the conversation. Yeah, do you buy your cars? Don't race, Ryan says. It's awesome.
Whenever adverse conditions hit, Joey often jokes, it's the Nitro Challenge, not the Nitro Easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's his go-to expression. It's not the Nitro Challenge. It's not Nitro Easy. It's the Nitro Challenge. But this one was different. It was so cold.
But for how long would the current conditions hold?
The location was really cool. So that was like a big reservoir to the left. And I think there was a drag strip and a dirt bike track there as well. It was kind of like a multi-use facility, so it was pretty cool.
Actually get along pretty good.
Put them behind here instead. And you can even like shim it a little bit tighter if you want to.
So a lot of guys think that Mayfield and Tessmans don't get along. That's not true at all. They've always had a really good relationship whenever I saw them. But I was curious if there was any one driver that people absolutely hated having behind them.
Really mind who's behind me as long as I'm in front of them.
I don't know. Just I like everyone, so I don't really hate and so on. So I hope it will be a night race.
I don't really like anybody behind me. I'm not real comfortable with anybody behind.
When I'm leading, I want to be gone.
Probably if there's anybody that I'd like having behind me, it's probably Adam.
If I did have to have someone close behind me, I would say Cavalieri or Tessman. I've had a lot of experience racing with both of those guys. I think they're both very respectful and good to drive with.
I don't have any really favorite guy in front of us behind me. I don't know. I like anyone. I like racing anyone.
You want to redo that? You think telling the whole world you don't like anybody behind you is good?
Gord's awesome.
Well, who did I say?
Nobody.
Nobody? I just said nobody.
You're not afraid of anybody. You're telling the whole world you're afraid of everybody. Is that wise?
What?
Don't put that in.
Oops, I did. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I had to use that in because I like the kind of random ones. Like I like getting the real drivers. I don't like it when they have like their race persona on. I like getting the real person out, and I just thought that interview with Tessman was as close to the real Ty as I've ever really seen.
Yeah, truck was good. Made a couple adjustments just for the weather, so it's so cold. Got out, kind of just held it wide open. Basically, I mean, the pace is pretty insane considering how pretty much rough the track is, and we weren't.
Yeah, the track was starting to get sort of rough, but it didn't really bomb out till round 2.5, round 3.
It seemed like the speed was still on the track.
Mayfield sets the pace early. Ty, who would end up only 4/10 behind Ryan, had a brutal start.
Well, I wasn't really around a whole lot of people until I kind of got in the traffic bit, but I couldn't really pace myself. It was hard to see around the track where Mayfield was, so I don't know if he maybe...
Yeah, and the track was an interesting shape. It was actually more square than rectangle. Most tracks we go to are wider than they are deep. This one was pretty much almost even, I would say. It's kind of like the Padova track in Italy, same thing. That one's quite deep and not super wide. This one may have been very similar, quite square. So yeah, Mayfield, he had a pretty solid run, and Bornhorst was really kicking butt. If I recall, this is one of Bornhorst's more successful events. He really did good overall at this race.
Looking like round 1 might be the only round of qualifying.
Yeah, and again, the weather was looking so sketchy. We figured, well, maybe just round 1, that's it.
The E-buggies,
because when the E-buggies came out, it actually, I'm not sure if it was just the frame rate that was making it look like snow. The rain looked like snow, but I swear that was snow. And this was E-buggy round 1.
Even with periods of sun emerging in round 2, the temperatures were still only a few degrees above freezing. Winter garb was everywhere.
Yeah, Tyrone's saying he's asking if I saw the water bump that developed in the jump off the first turn. Yeah, totally. It was crazy.
The Drakes travel in style, and Rhonda.
No, here's Rhonda. She just watches YouTube videos.
Watching YouTube videos.
Who would do the honey badger? Who doesn't give? Oh, Mayfield, because he just doesn't give a shit. He takes what he wants. Oh, look, a Coors Light.
3 Coors later. So it's another time lapse I did. You can just kind of see how fast the clouds are really moving. The weather was just crazy. The wind was insane, but it had pockets of sunshine, and so that would kind of instill us with a little bit of hope that maybe the rain was gone, and then it would just cool right off. But yeah, it was pretty much miserable. I can't imagine driving a car. Like me, I was at least kind of running around, building up a sweat a little bit. But those guys on the driver's stand, they must have been just freezing. Or the people in pits with no heaters. Like Adam at least had a trailer, so his trailer had heat and it was nice and warm. But yeah, this was also CJ Jellin's debut with Kyosho stuff. He had left X-Ray quite dramatically in the off season.
And he 25th here in the second round.
So DNC wasn't super kind for him. He was in B in both.
In the offseason, CJ was quite vocal about a toxic environment being the cause of his X-Ray departure. With only a pair of veteran pro drivers to its credit, Kevin and CJ will have to go it largely on their own.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what the toxicity was. I have no idea. It looked like, CJ and Ty had a really good relationship. I think it was more the relationship between Kevin and Gord. But CJ really struggled here because he really didn't. There was basically just Elliott. Elliott was the only top tier pro guy there for setup advice, and then there was kind of like a bunch of younger drivers. So I think CJ just had no one to really bounce ideas off of at this race, and it was pretty unique conditions given the cold, given the wet, given the bumps. Yeah.
One of the younger drivers struggling. Buggy world champ Davide Ongaro isn't too happy with his first couple rounds of qualifying in Truggy.
So Davide was pretty hard on himself. He was fast, like he had pockets of speed with the Truggy, but he just couldn't get the consistency going. I'm not sure if he just wasn't used to the easy driving style of a Truggy or what it was, but he was struggling a little bit. Joe, on the other hand, was doing pretty good.
Even though the grip was down significantly from the first round, Joe gets his wish with a third place overall run with Mayfield in second.
Yes, so that's a pretty good day of qualifying for Joe. Like third place behind Tessman and Mayfield. That's pretty awesome. Or sorry, Mayfield was second, Tessman was top.
When the E-buggies hit the track at the end of the round, it became very clear how rough the track was getting. Buggy-sized holes were common on the track. In the pits, the night brought even lower temperatures and participants.
So that flaming can thing, 50-gallon drum, so it was like painted. I'm pretty sure anybody who is like sitting around there taking in the fumes is going to get cancer next year because, man, it stunk like a chemical fire. It was so gross, but we were so cold we didn't care. So Joe was actually saying something kind of interesting. So the year after this race, it was in the preferred location where the track was a rectangle. And Joe actually said he liked this track size and layout a lot more in the unpreferred location versus where it was supposed to be. So that's an interesting tidbit that Joe liked this year's race, the 2019 DNC, better than the 2020 DNC.
Precise and take my time and make the jumps and drive around the holes, and it was all going good, and then had some unexpected traffic issues, but...
Would this incident add to the already thick animosity between
the
domestic and European...
Ty was having some run-ins with Marco Barufalo on the track, and it was pretty awkward because they're kind of teammates, so for them to have animosity was kind of weird. But Marco he raced Ty pretty aggressively, he never gave an inch on the track, so it's kind of interesting.
All with very similar paces.
And here we got Joe stuck with I think that's Cole Ogden. I'm not sure who he's trying to get past, but he was trying to get past a bunch of people because he was on a good time again.
We have Battier.
Ray's Cabin Battier.
We were all together on the track, and it was kind of pretty dicey between us. I'm just like, stay away from me. I just want to finish my run. Like, I wasn't trying to go fast. Wasn't trying to pass anyone. Just trying to finish my last couple laps, and it worked out.
And I actually like that group. Actually worked pretty well together because they didn't wreck each other. They didn't really slow each other down, and Joe ended up pulling off a pretty solid run.
Final. Tessman would be starting from second, with Mayfield earning the pole. None of these drivers will have much time to think about Saturday's Truggy Main. It's time to focus on Buggy, on one of the bumpiest tracks many of these drivers have ever seen.
Yeah, Tyrone Robinson said the next year Brufalo got threatened. I think it was a throat punch, if I recall. Somebody was going to throat punch him. Mayfield. I love Mayfield.
We saw the track watering crews for the first time since practice.
Yeah, so it's a good sign when you get watering crews out after that much rain. It's that means the track's starting to come around and actually be a normal track.
The buggy class may very well show us who the best rough track driver in the world is. Nearly every single European driver seated into the top heat. Mayfield, who struggled in seating, is in the B group. Davide, the odds-on favorite in the pits to win, sets a blistering pace. Tessman, all the way back in the D grouping, is having what appears to be a solid run.
Yeah, it's tough being in the D group though, and working with traffic constantly. So I'll be curious to see how Ty does.
Hopefully we can get a little bit more grip, make the car easier to drive, and get around the track faster with no mistakes. I think it's possible. We'll just have to do our best to do it.
Ty's 12-lap run will place him 6th overall.
Yeah, so top 6 isn't terrible. It's not awesome, but it's not terrible.
Group qualifier.
I think if I had more grip, I could go a little faster. But then we have the issue of being hard to drive, which we're working on the car setup to do that. So I think the combination of the two should really help. And maybe he was doing some different lines, so maybe try that out too on the track, but we'll see.
Yeah, if I recall, Davide was like 13 seconds ahead of everybody. Afterwards, I asked Mayfield what he thought of that run. He said that was the most amazing run he's ever seen anybody do. Like it was literally flawless. He knew where all the bumps were. He was avoiding them, and he basically decimated everyone. So it almost looked like maybe Mayfield's dominance of Nitro Challenge was over with Davide in attendance.
Things were not looking so well for Bornhorst. He was well off the pace and struggling with the character of the track.
Bing. He's got character, all right. He is a character. He's all about character. Everything about him says character. His car's character, his truck's character.
Love this.
He's super character.
I don't know if you haven't heard.
He's a bad character. Bad character. I don't like it.
Mike's awesome.
Terrible.
Does that make you happy?
Yeah.
So there's the running gag that Brittany Jill Garrison hates Joe Bornhorst. It's just a gag. She doesn't. It's just fun they have at the track. Trust me. I think I actually got an email or two about Mike's slamming of Joe, and I had to respond, dude, he was just kidding. Everybody loves Joe. Joe's great.
Practice. And
so Mayfield didn't have the greatest seating either. I think he was in the B grouping, and he was sort of struggling in the first heat.
Then I made a slight bobble at the end.
It was a pretty major bobble, but we'll go with slight.
2 for the round. I would have been 2 even without that crash. So Ongaro drove really well, picked the right lines. Car looked good.
Yeah, off camera, he was just blown away by how fast Ongaro was.
He was just kind of hammering through the bumps. He wasn't jumping the big jump. We were all trying to go for the big jump. So just need to make my run a little more efficient. That's basically what he did, is just drove around really efficiently, and
yeah, there was a triple in the front, and Ongaro was doing it as a double single every lap, and all the other guys like Ty and Mayfield, Tebow, etc., they were all doing it as a triple, and the triple was definitely faster, but Ongaro was just making so much time up everywhere else that he didn't need to take the risk of that triple.
I try to find the line on the track, the good line on the track. Also, I don't make the triple here. I make 2 and 1. I think for me it's easier.
Yeah, he was definitely fast. Whatever he was doing was working.
The Europeans versus the North Americans battle, the Euro drivers are winning. The Davids of Ungaro and Ronafalk are in first and third respectively. Elliott Boots also puts in a solid run with his brand new Inferno.
Sorry, the sun was setting. My set isn't super awesome. I'm not on point like JQ. His lighting is really good on his podcast.
Drive though, the conditions out there are like crazy with the winds. A couple of times I got caught in the wind. I landed like funny, but I didn't crash completely, which wasn't too bad. But just all the bumps and stuff out there now, you just have to just really go slow, pick your lines, just like be in a nice rhythm around the track. So
yeah, that's what rough track racing is really about. It's about just finding your way around the bumps. It doesn't matter if you're going wide on a corner, if there's a big hole on the inside. You know, that's part of rough track driving, is to, you know, find the lines that work. And not necessarily what would be the fastest line, but it's the line that works and keeps your buggy from flipping.
We're gonna change piston, shock coils, caster, springs. We're going for full length tires. We're gonna run a setup from UK National one time.
Yeah, so Elliott ended up doing complete changes to his car. Everything. Springs, shocks, caster, camber, you name it. He changed it.
CJ's Truggy day was rough, and so far, buggy is no better.
Every lap seems like the bumps are just getting worse and worse. It's gonna be hard to drive tomorrow.
Yeah, it was pretty hard watching CJ struggle, because he's such a, at this point he was like an amazing young up and coming driver, and just to see him struggle and just see his confidence take that beating. I mean, at this age, it kind of hurts. But you can see this is the X-Ray team from the year before. I mean, they were all there. You know, Mark Sousa was there helping him. You know, Gord Ty, he had a big team around him. At this race, it was basically him and Kevin trying to figure it out kind of on their own. It was sort of hard to watch.
Actually separates the pros from the Joes, and I'm kind of a mixture. I'm a pro and a Joe right now. Can't really decide what I want to be, but I'm going to figure it out for sure. This Kyosho car is really good on the road, so I'm looking forward to it.
CJ is at a crossroads of his young career, and it could go either way for him. Jelen only has a couple years to prove that he can win at this level. Very few drivers who haven't won before 16 make the transition.
There's the exception to that rule, though. Joe, I don't think he started racing until he was into his 20s. For sure 19. I don't know. Joe's, if he still's online, correct me. Let me know when you started racing, buddy. But usually, I think it was Jason Rona has a famous quote. He said, if you haven't won by 17, you'll never be a pro.
The qualifier isn't won until the final lap is completed.
But Joe definitely proved Jason Rona wrong, and now Jason's his sponsor.
The Davide loses the lead.
Great TQ time here in the first heat of 4.
3 heat races ago, Marco's teammate was doing everything he could to force his pace. But with literally no other top drivers in his heat, Tessman didn't have anyone to push him or anyone to chase.
Yeah, and that's the problem when you're in a slower heat. You just don't have anybody to pace yourself. You're constantly passing people, so it's pretty tough.
Fast he has to go. They've all got a bar set for them, and that's a big advantage, I think. When you're in a heat with guys that are just as fast as you, you hear the announcer, you know how hard you have to push, and I mean, it's our own fault. We're in the bottom heat, but we're going to work hard and try to get up close.
So by this time, Gord ended up catching the flu at this race. By this time, he was already feeling pretty crappy.
Marco would steal the top spot from Davide, who bobbled on his final lap.
TQ for Marco, it's awesome. If he can TQ the last round, then he'll have overall TQ. Should be really good. X-ray to win is very important. I mean, that would be phenomenal. We could get Ty up there too.
Yeah, so Joe just confirmed he was 19 when he got his first car. So for him to make it to the pros it's definitely rare. You know, most of the top drivers today all start when they're pretty young. Like Cavalieri started when he was young. Tessman started when he was like well, he's 13, 14 when he made his first A main at the Worlds. Mayfield was super young. Adam was young. Joe's a trend setter or a trend breaker. And so is Mayfield, because he's like, I don't know, 50 years old and he's still super fast.
For me, it's always rewarding to see the team win. If it can be me, great. If not, I want it to be one of my teammates.
The track is beyond character. Hey, you can't bing me. I'm the narrator.
Yeah, I'm the producer.
Okay. The track was freaking rough.
Right? It was super rough. Like, it was just crazy.
If not the most challenging DNC.
My favorite shot ever.
The more input from
Love
lower
it.
team drivers, the better chance a manufacturer has for putting their...
So at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's an individual sport, but I mean, the team's success is super important too.
My car is matching the character of my driving, and the track's character is coming around great. So I think the overall character of my next run is going to be excellent.
The race.
I suspect he did that on purpose, because Joe was pitted right across from him, and Joe and I have this whole gag with the word character. He hates hearing it. He wants to hear the word rough. So I still do the little motocross placard every time somebody says character.
Super confident.
And it happens a lot.
I made a bunch of changes to my car.
All right, so this is round 3 of buggy qualifying. I think we had Ongaro killed in the first round. He struggled in the second round, and it was Marco Barufalo who TQ'd the second round. And in the third round, I believe it was David Ronefalk.
Definitely is now. 4 of the top 5 drivers are all European.
Yeah, the Europeans are going fast. It's I don't know if it's just the style track or just, they've kind of elevated their game. I mean, obviously it's always super close when it comes down to it in racing.
Yeah, I think the top 2 or top 3 drivers are all European. And Joe Bornhorst just piped up that his one of his greatest accomplishments in his career was ending the word character. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, they're doing good though.
So this was now buggy qualifying is ending, and what they were doing is repairing the track for buggy finals, Truggy finals, which happened the next day. So Joey he basically just fixed the jump faces just to make sure that the jumps held together for at least 10-15 minutes the next day. But he basically left the rest of the track as was.
Days remain in this 20th and arguably the most difficult Nitro challenge yet.
Yeah, like I was at a lot of the Fear Farm Nitro challenges. Like I did 13 as a participant, 14 as filmmaker, and then 15 as a participant. I think I skipped 16 and I did 17 as a participant. I did 18 as a participant. I can't remember when I stopped being a participant, but yeah, I've done quite a few, and I've never seen one quite so difficult as this one. Like, this track was so bumpy, so difficult. It was just nasty. I was really happy that I wasn't a participant at this one. And here's Joe. Joe's always watching motocross. Like, I've got the icebreaker cut on behind me, and there's a couple shots of him watching motocross at the icebreaker too. So he is he a motocross fan or is he an RC fan? I just don't know.
Will it continue?
So that was a lower main start. They were absolutely epic at this event, because that last double was very high speed. Like, you were hitting it pretty much pinned. So when you crashed hard. And in the lower heats, there's a lot of crashing. So
who has struggled to adapt his driving style to these adverse conditions.
Joe says dirt bikes are cool. Yeah, they are.
Out for him in the C main.
So CJ started his Truggy day in the C main.
In just 5 laps, Jelen works his way into a bump spot.
And I think he was towards the bottom of the C as well. So but it didn't take him long, and he was in a bump spot.
And he is headed to a DNC Truggy A.
Oh, what another interesting bit is the Truggy that CJ is using, I think, was only a year and a half younger than CJ himself. So that gives you an idea as to how old that Kyosho Truggy was at this race.
Jelen starts his day out one main better than in Truggy, C main.
So here we got some buggy finals. It's the C main, and again, there's an upside down Dakota as well as CJ. So CJ wasn't the only one struggling a little bit. Dakota was having a pretty miserable Nitro challenge. it seems that you either love this race or you hate it. Like, I know the Testmans hate this race. I know there's so many drivers that absolutely hate this race just because it's cold, it's hard, it's challenging, it's you're miserable for 5 days, but it's such a spectacle. I love it. This is my favorite race in the entire RC industry for some reason. I just love this race. But anyways, CJ, I think he made it into the B main and buggy, and then he ended up breaking something on his. This was the newly released MP10, if I recall.
Broke in that last one, pacing Dakota, and went over the triple. I hit him in the air, and my car went up to the right side and just went down on it. I tried saving it, but broke an arm. But that was all my fault. So I'm gonna get used to the car some more and come back to Silver State.
CJ isn't the only one whose day ends early.
Yeah, Ronafalk would also break an arm.
David Ronafalk would
if I recall,
in the B main.
Arm or camera leak, I can't remember what. Yeah, so here Gord's symptoms this is the Saturday. Gord's flu symptoms really hit him hard, and he was sleeping.
So hopefully he gets feeling better before the mains.
With all lower mains now complete, it's time for the first of the A mains to be run. E-buggy.
So E-buggy A main was one of the first, and this is on the Saturday night. In this edit, it looks like it's the same day, but it was actually the night before. So they run E-buggy along with all the Truggy classes on Saturday, and then Nitro buggy on Sunday.
Starting from the TQ position, led 19 of the 20 laps, including the most important lap, the last one.
Yeah, exactly what I wanted it to be like.
So Ronafalk, he had a really solid run in E-buggy, and I was really curious if this would pan out, because he also TQ'd the final round of buggy at that race the night before. So it was really interesting to see if that momentum would help him, and it clearly did in E-buggy, because he was gone.
Truck main, so I have to sit that one out, but I will just relax, go back to the hotel, and get ready for tomorrow.
As the race program gets through the 40-plus sportsman and intermediate classes in both electric buggy and Truggy, the track conditions continue to get more and more confusing. Each A main seems to have a slightly different track condition. The only constant is that it's bumpy.
I hate just trying to chase the unknown, How much water is going to be in the track, the temperature dropping. We're trying to keep track of everything and keep up on it, and it's difficult because temperatures dropped so fast just before this race, and I think we should have been a little bit lighter. But now at least we know what to do for truck, and we just didn't got ourselves with our pants down.
Nice. Caught himself with his pants down.
We need to go fast.
You're the driver, little Timmy.
Not like it's that big of a risk.
Ty and his Proline teammates are trying to decide which tires to use.
So yeah, it turned into quite a tire war. For the life of me, I can't quite remember what compound Ty ended up going with.
Follow suit by running a micro pin. Will they last for 45 minutes?
I ran S4 and E-buggy and just didn't really feel like I had that much grip, so it's going to be even colder, and there's going to be more moisture in the track by the time we're on truck, so M3 should be good.
S3s.
Yeah, so the entire Proline team was going with the M compound, M3s, except for CJ, who did in Truggy, he did bump into the show in Truggy. They went with S3, which was, I personally wouldn't have done it, but because that's a pretty hard tire. And I think on the JC side, they're running mostly the green compound. I'm not sure I'm assuming it was probably Reflex in Truggy, and I think it was Stalkers in Buggy.
After being the rain and cold for the past 3 days, it's finally time for the second most important race of the week, the Pro Truck Final.
So Ryan Mitchell is asking if I'm envisioning a Netflix series in the future. Yeah, it's in the works. I'm basically just kind of writing. I'm writing the script based on the source material that I have right now. But it's kind of like I want to do a 10-year project, and I'm on year 6. Kind of stalled at year 6 because of stupid COVID, but we'll see what happens later in the year. I know I'm planning on doing the Quebec Classic in August. So we'll see what happens between now and then. As far as U.S. races go, I don't think I'm doing any in 21 either. I think that'll have to wait till 22. But the answer to your question is yes, I am envisioning a Netflix series for sure.
Something for him after all.
So this is the Truggy A-main, and we can see Mayfield is starting to check out. Like, this is pretty early on. That's like, I think that was the third or fourth lap, and he's already built up a gap.
It would be a long night for the other 14 drivers.
First lap, I had high hopes. Like I was following Mayfield and kind of like had to check up a couple times. I thought we'd have a good race. Just kind of let him. I didn't want to push too hard. I just wanted to kind of get in the rhythm and pull away from the rest of the field. Then I made one small bobble and it just kind of, I couldn't keep up anymore. Just my truck was kind of hard to drive. I think maybe the shock wells were a little bit too heavy. So then I was trying to maintain, just keep going, just keep plugging away and end up making more mistakes.
While Ty's mistakes happened on the track, CJ Jellens may have started off track.
Yeah, the S3 was kind of the worst tire he could have selected because it was maybe 39 Fahrenheit plus 4 Celsius. It was cold. Like I mean, for me, M3, M4 would have been perfect. Well, it's Truggy, so M3. Because yeah, CJ's truck was hard to drive, and I believe he ended up braking.
Given that CJ failed to make it out of the buggy B mains, his DNC would end in disappointment. While he did make the Truggy final, his showing in buggy was worse than last year. He would have a shot at redemption in a few short months at the Silver State race.
Yeah, so the year before running with X-Ray, he did make, I think he made both mains that year. Ooh, there's Joe. He actually crashed into Ty's truck there, and I think Leanne's elbow got like jammed from the impact or something. She was in a little bit of pain, but it was a racing incident. It happens.
And try to salvage what I could. I was trying to catch Joe. I almost caught him a couple times, but then just made more mistakes.
Joe, now one position ahead of Ty, sets his sights on Davide.
Yeah, so there's Ungaro and Joe Bornhorst right behind him.
With 2 mistakes in the last 3 corners, Joe pulls ahead of Davide on the track. Unfortunately, this is not a battle for position.
Yeah, so I think he's 1 lap down from Davide.
At the halfway point of the race, Joe is 1 lap down from Davide and race leader Mayfield. The laps tick away. The track becomes more and more blown out.
And I think Mayfield had a lap cushion over Davide. So it was actually, I mean, it was a pretty boring race. Like, it wasn't a close race anywhere. There weren't a whole bunch of close battles, maybe back in the pack, but there was no battle for the lead, no battles for the podium anywhere, really.
With less than 10
which I don't like.
Ungaro will have to press to close the gap or hope for a mistake by Mayfield.
Yeah, back in the pack, this is the Tessman-Barufalo battle, I believe. And it gets ugly.
Before long, the 2 teammates tangle yet again. Ty would come out on top of Marco.
Yeah, I didn't really get what happened, but Marco felt that Ty raced him pretty hard. He sort of complained a little bit about it.
Barufalo was unrepentant.
No, because I touched him before and I wait him. But in the last 2 laps, he hit me and didn't expect me.
So yeah, there's a lot of animosity between those two. And Barufalo got into it with Mayfield the next year, and Mayfield, like we talked about earlier in the podcast, Mayfield was going to throat punch him. Just classic Mayfield, love it.
It was a pretty crazy race in the back. There's a lot of battling, and there's some. This track makes it hard, and everybody's pushing so hard, so it's just absolute chaos.
Well, it's chaos because it's the Nitro Challenge. Everybody wants to win this one because I think it's top 3 contingency check for the pro drivers. I think it's Ifmar's first, Rornat's number 2, and DNC I think is in the 3rd spot for contingency payout.
Joe Bornhorst would hold off Ty, and he would secure the final podium spot.
It was good. I mean,
yeah, so podium finish for Bornhorst. That's pretty solid, especially given how many international guys were there. Like Davide was there, Robert Battier was there, Rona Falk. I mean, Rona Falk broke in the B main, but still stiff competition on paper.
Ty at the end. Had a little bit more pace than him at the end, I thought. Maybe he just ran out of tire. I know he ran a whole shot and I ran a buckshot. So, I still had good grip at the end and I was good. So, just clicking off laps and got another podium. So pumped.
It was actually a really cool layout to film on because I could get some really good shots and not be in anybody's way. The jumps were a lot of the jumps were on the perimeter, so it was pretty cool. I could get really close and, like I said, not be in any driver's way. So I didn't get yelled at by anyone at this race.
A lot more fun to drive, and I don't want to say easier, but a lot more.
So Ryan's talking about having the most power he's ever had in Truggy.
Foreshadow what is to come in buggy tomorrow.
I think the buggy main's probably going to be a little more intense than the truck main. You know, the buggies are a little bit harder to drive. I felt pretty comfortable out there bouncing around through the bumps of the truck because it's so big. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for tomorrow. Hopefully it can go just as well. It's nice to get on the podium. This race is so long. You want to have something to show for it at the end. So I got a 3 in E-buggy today and got the win in truck. So hopefully we can do close to the same tomorrow.
Sunday.
Yeah, so Sunday, this is the last day of everything. Finally. For us, Nitro Challenge starts on kind of the Monday, setting up stuff, and Tuesday people start arriving to set up the bulk of the people arrive on the Tuesday, and then Wednesday seating practice, and then Thursday's Truggy qualifying, Friday's buggy qualifying, and then Saturday, Sunday main. So it's a super long race.
And brimming with confidence for their respective drivers. There was one notable absence in the pits. Gord Tessman.
Yeah, so this was the first time that I've noticed that Gord didn't pit for Ty. He was super sick. Like, for him to not pit for Ty, he was wicked sick.
Performing pit duties for his son.
And I think by Sunday, all of us were sick. I know I went home sick on the Monday. I did not feel good at all. Yeah, it was just crazy. Yeah, there's a good shot of Gord. I think that's for the most part where he watched that race from.
Ty hasn't really looked himself at this DNC, so how would yet another blow affect him?
Yeah, it was a really rough DNC for my friend Ty. I think a lot of them have been for some reason or other since 2014. That's the last time he really looked super confident and comfortable at that race. Mayfield, on the other hand, yeah, he had the trifecta in 17. I think he doubled in 16. So yeah, he's got some mojo, some swagger. But there's Davide. You know, Davide was crazy fast in that first round, and then Ronafalk was crazy fast in the third round. So it was a lot of unknowns coming into this one as far as would somebody dominate.
The start wasn't exactly a clean one.
No, it was pretty much awful.
A wreck would collect most of the contenders, including Ungaro and Tessman.
Yeah, so it really sucked because Ungaro got collected. Tessman, I don't think he was a contender. I called him a contender in the script, but I didn't think he had a shot at winning this one.
On the start, because I had to start Ty, obviously from the grid, and all I heard was, "Oh crap!" and there's just cars flying all over the place.
Gord, seeing how far back his son was, has made his way trackside, but he is unable to join Leanne and Daniel in the pits. Davide Ungaro isn't faring much better than Ty. He is currently in 9th, but he seems to be marching forward, while Ty's progress has somewhat halted.
So I'm not sure if you noticed that hitch that was sticking out.
It was Mayfield.
Ronafalk would end up hitting that hitch just a few laps after this.
Striking similarities to the 2014 DNC where Ronafalk was trying to chase down Tessman. Ty won that battle 5 years ago. Would Ronafalk come out on top this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get the incident, but he just he got all squirrely on the doubles off to the right, and I can't remember what happened, but he ended up overshooting the last one and ended up over the tile, or over the pipe rather, and he just pinned it right into that hitch. Yeah, a couple I think it was right after this. I chose to follow Mayfield, but I should have followed Ronafalk because he absolutely nailed that hitch. Just pasted it.
In the back, did that whole landing the triple, and my car was sent out outside the pipe, and I tried to get back on it as fast as I could, and I hit that trailer with a light over there, and my front arm snapped. So it is what it is.
The Europeans.
Yeah, he just got on the other side of the pipe and was trying to get on the track, and he just had it full wick. just nailed the pipe. Like I said, I chose to follow Mayfield on that shot. I should have chosen to follow Ronafalk. First world problems, right?
Wing of his brand new S-Works ride. He comes into the pits for a quick repair.
Yeah, so Cavalier was having an okay run until his wing came off.
Have now completely vanished.
Not sure if he broke something or if it was just a screw came loose. Don't know.
The track was continuing to deteriorate. Even the smoothest of drivers were crashing.
I got screwed off the start a little bit and got sent straight to the back. I think I was like 13th or 14th. And within 5 to 6 minutes made just an awesome charge and was, you know, I think in second for a while.
Joe
Yep, you were.
holds second spot for several laps.
Yeah, like I said, this is one of Bornhorst's greatest finishes in his career to this point. It was rock solid. And, unfortunately, I talked about him and he crashed. Or does the announcer's curse not work in this context? I'm not sure.
A little bit here and there, and just lost touch with the group that I was on, or group that I was with, and I ended up seventh. So
Time for another cycle of pit stops.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he lost touch in the last little bit. So his Cinderella story kind of came crashing a little bit in the closing moments of Buggy.
Who ended finishing third.
So Fend, I think he was in the C or B with CJ, and he ended up bumping all the way up. I don't believe he did a whole lot of damage in this one. I can't remember where he ends up finishing.
Closing minutes, and we're back in pit lane. Joe has a few issues getting in and out. It doesn't really.
Yeah, this is where Joe's race start to slowly unravel.
He would like. The same is true for Elliott. He's in the 11th spot and isn't happy with the handling of his buggy.
Yeah, but I mean, there's bumps and then there's like craters. You know, they're only small cars.
So Joe gave us an update here. He got hit on the straight and sounds like bent up the front of his car, probably a shock shaft or a hinge pin or something, and lost the handling. But it looked like it was such a Cinderella story for him because he had such a solid Truggy run, and he was in P2 when this happened, or P3 in Buggy when this happened.
Elliott is now the veteran driver for a very young team.
I guess,
so Elliott's the veteran driver for a young team for about another hour. He was having a conversation with Zach Zach Rogers, and they asked me to leave. So I assume that's when Elliott actually told Zach he wasn't going to be running Kyosho anymore.
Elliott would leave Kyosho also.
So there goes CJ's veteran driver for large international events.
He would join Cavalieri over at S-Works. Silver State.
But for Boots, it was actually a pretty solid move because this was the Silver State race just a few months later, and he won this sucker. Oh, and check out the spray. Look at the spray. Right in the balls. Right in the balls. Classic Mayfield. That's the best trophy spray ever.
Mayfield is absolutely leading on the field at DNC.
Oh, man. Yeah, so Mayfield, I think he lapped everyone. Davide might have been on the same lap as him. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure he lapped everyone.
And TQ, Mr. David Ongaro. In the second spot, Dakota Fenn.
Yeah, so Dakota actually, sorry, I misspoke earlier. He made it all the way to P2. That's pretty awesome. From either the C or the B. I think it was the C main that he bumped up from. But regardless, Mayfield, yet another double victory.
And Dakota really put on a great show, coming all the way up from starting 6th in the B main.
Oh, 6th in the B, not the C, the B.
The Nitro Challenge, Mayfield's buggy performance was one of dominance. His new racing program suits his driving style very well.
Well, this is a great interview.
Considering how he ended last year.
I wonder how Mario and Marco Rossi are feeling right now, firing the Dirt Nitro Challenge champion in both Truggy and Buggy. Just curious. I would like to maybe get an interview from them.
That was insane.
Yeah, I don't think that interview's ever going to happen.
tense because I had to stay so calm.
Anyway, so I actually felt bad. I told Adam, I said, I was recording. He's like, use it, please. I'm begging you, use it.
Constantly breathing and taking my
So I
time
did.
and making sure I did everything slow. And I got a big lead and I just cruised to the finish. Car was phenomenal. Team worked awesome together. Got the shock package for this super rough stuff, like crazy good.
Yeah, I believe he was using the MIP bypass pistons
Team worked phenomenal together. Tires were good.
in his Mugen.
While Joe Bornhorst didn't get the storybook ending he was hoping for after making the Truggy podium, he was still very satisfied with his performance here, and he was a contender for most of the main.
Still a great weekend. I got second, third yesterday, and then seventh today. I thought I had a podium in me, but
Yeah, I felt that Joe absolutely had a podium because, like I said, he was in P3 or P2 when he started to drop off. I didn't realize he actually got a bent shock package or shock part or whatever. Yeah, he would have podiumed. I'm convinced of that.
Maybe it set the tone a little bit, but just kind of driving around in the main. Got maybe a little bit too racy sometimes. Didn't hit my lines. Made a lot of mistakes, but.
With only tenths of a second separating the top 6 finishers, this race literally could have.
And what I meant by tenths of a second separating the top 6, that's lap times. They were not that close on the track. Mayfield was gone. Second was like a lap up on third. Third was like a lap up on fourth. It wasn't a close race like anywhere. But their individual lap times were all really, really close.
move on.
I
don't think I made that clear enough in the script. My bad.
The 20th running of the DNC is over. While the race started out in near disaster, the end result was a resounding success. After 12 years in Phoenix, this California edition had some big shoes to fill, and it ended up having that familiar DNC feel to it. 600 plus entries, a very challenging track, intense competition, questionable weather.
Yeah.
So it's really a testament to Joey, and he proved definitively that he did not bite off more than he could chew. In fact, he put on as grand a spectacle as any other Nitro challenge, and it remains one of the greatest RC races in the world.
DNC out.
Yep, DNC out. So I can't remember how many more they did at the Paris location. I think they did 3 total there. So there's this one, which was 19, and I believe they did, no, there's just 2. They did this one, 19, and then the 20. And then right after DNC happened last year, the 20 edition, the world got shut down. So Joey managed to get in a DNC, like it was literally a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. So yeah, 2 years in Paris, and then this year it moved over to Thunder Alley. And I would have, if it weren't for COVID, I totally would have done a DNC 3 there, and that would have been a great one for for Jason Rona, because Mayfield ended up getting the trifecta there, triple win. He won every class there was to win. So that was DNC 2. Oh shoot, that's actually kind of a funny scene. Yeah, so it was Brittany Joe Garrison talking to Joe Bornhorst there for a second. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that scene. I should have pre-watched this. I didn't pre-watch this one as much as I should have, I guess. Oh well. So anyways, that was DNC 2. Like I was just saying, I would have done DNC 3. I gotta fix my focus. I would have done DNC 3, but yeah, COVID just made travel too restrictive. So I'm not gonna travel until the borders open up. So in other RC news, they just announced this past week that the IFMAR Worlds from Brazil are canceled. So I don't know what canceled means. Does it mean that it goes back to EFRA? Because I believe this is the year. It's either EFRA or the US. I don't know who would have gotten the 22 IFMAR Worlds. But what was interesting is a couple days later they edited their post or reposted and said canceled / postponed. So I don't know. I'm going to try to get some information from from Jeff, the president of IFMAR. But personally, I hope it's canceled because I had absolutely no desire to go to Brazil. And I was talking to a few of the other pros, and the same thing. They did not want to go to Brazil. So that would be super awesome if it were moved to its regular scheduled block for 22. But I guess that remains to be seen. So let's see. There was one question here. Yes, the Easter eggs. No, I did not do an Easter egg in DNC2 that I'm aware of. I don't think there's even like a Star Wars ref. Oh no, I guess the Easter egg was Tony Schumacher's hat. He was wearing beanie. He was wearing the Star Wars beanie in pit lane. I think that was the Easter egg. So I kind of copped out, but there was at least one Star Wars reference in this one. Let's see. Ryan Mitchell is talking about the uptick of folks watching F1 as a result of Drive to Survive. I totally agree. And season 3 is coming out. What is it? This weekend? Season 3 drops. I can't remember if it's this weekend or if it's next week. Regardless, I can't wait till Drive to Survive season 3 comes out because I love that show. What I would absolutely love to do, because they do this frequently in Drive to Survive, is they have the radio feed between the driver and the pit crew. I would absolutely love to figure out how to do that in RC, because I would love to find out, what is Jared saying to Matt, or what's Joe saying to Matt, or what's, what kind of talk, what's Mayfield saying to his crew. I would absolutely love to be able to tap into that feed or hack into that feed and get that recorded. That would be just awesome. So Matthew Kessel was talking to some pros last weekend at a big race, and they were all very relieved that Brazil was canceled. They referred to those going as short straw winners. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It wouldn't be the first boycotted Worlds. I believe Mark Pavidis' victory was a little tainted. It was Indonesia. It was right after, I think it was 2002. So it was right after, obviously, after 9/11. And I think it was largely boycotted. So that one was, again, Mark Pavidis is a world champion. He was super fast, but it was a little bit tainted that year because it was boycotted. But that being said, everybody went to Argentina in 2012, and getting through customs there was just as sketchy as it was going to be getting through Brazil. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what canceled means in the eyes of IFMAR. Again, personally, I hope it's canceled because I don't want to go to Brazil. I don't. So yeah. Quebec Classic, on the other hand, I want to go to that race. I've been wanting to go to that one for a while. So hopefully we have some top drivers coming. I'm not sure if we'll see any US drivers out there, but that sounds like that's going to be my first shoot of the 2021 season. Anyways, I'm not sure what else to chat about. Oh, I should maybe share a picture of my rental car. If I can find it. 2018, 2019 DNC. Yes. So this is what happens when you give me 375 horsepower in a rental car. So for this picture, I approached my friend Steve Burgess of Rugspin Graphics. He's one of the, he's a pretty amazing still photographer in the RC industry, does some amazing outdoor photography. I said, hey, Steve, you got to follow me. I'm going to give you a shot that's going to be the money shot. So this was a standing fourth gear burnout. The speedometer said, I don't know, 130 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, and I was not moving. Yes, I still to this day do not have any clue how I never got charged for those rear tires, because they were done. They were like so beyond done. It was hilarious. That was my highlight for this trip. I guarantee that was my highlight for this trip, bagging on that car, because that was so much fun. And the thing still got like 20 miles per gallon somehow. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. My friend Andy's saying, I'm in so much trouble. You're right. I sure am. Because I forgot to edit out the license plate. Oh, man. But yeah, that's the Nitro Challenge. It's it's a pretty fun race. I watched a lot of the footage from this year. It looked like it was pretty exciting, and yeah, I'd like to do it again. If it happens in 22 at Thunder Alley, I'll probably be there to do DNC 3, which would be super fun to do. Anyways, I'm pretty much out of stuff to talk about Nitro Challenge. This, I think, will be the last director's commentary until Icebreaker drops. And I did have the Icebreaker cut on my TV behind me the whole time. I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but it was there. I'm just finalizing the script, and hopefully going to record some narration with Mike and with Mike Garrison in the next week or so, and get that one released. And then the next one will be the Trends and Worlds. A little bit behind, but you know, it's been a crazy bit of time in my life. So yeah, it's coming. Icebreaker's coming. Trends and Worlds are coming. And then Quebec Classic will probably be the next video, hopefully. And we'll see what 22 brings. But in the meantime, yeah. So one of my fans says somewhere in a rental car office, red lights were flashing like crazy. I don't know, because they didn't measure tread depth. And I was there when they were delivering the car, because it wasn't quite ready. They had to wash it first, and so they were really in a rush. And I don't think they measured the tread depth. So I was seriously contemplating swapping the fronts for the backs, because it was the same tire size, 255s or 245s, whatever it was, 265s. I can't remember. I was totally going to do it, but I never did, and never saw any crazy line item for new tires on my Visa card. But that car was so much fun. Oh, the only regret I have is I wish that fourth gear standing burnout, I wish there would have been some video of that, because that would have been pretty amazing. Yeah. Anyways, so I hope you guys liked this one. It was a super fun race to be at, except for the cold. But like Joey always says, it's the Nitro Challenge, not the Nitro Easy. Anyways, take care, everyone, and I will see you guys when I see you.